But waiting for the New Zealanders in the hill town of Rannoch is an extraordinary invitation from climbing legend Eric Shipton, who is leading a British reconnaissance expedition to the unexplored southwest face of Everest. Traditionally, Everest had always been attempted from the north, the Tibetan side. 7 times the British had tried to scale it, and 7 times they'd failed. In 1950, the Chinese invasion of Tibet closes off the northern route, forcing climbers to look to Nepal. Shipton is keen to see what lies behind the massive Lhotse Wall, guarding Everest's southern flanks. He rates the chances of finding a new route to the summit behind this wall as 30 to 1 against. But Shipton's opportunity of a lifetime invitation is for only 2 New Zealanders to join his team.
The excitement faded within moments when we realised that only 2 of us were going.
It was dramatic, you know, it's as if someone had popped a Mills bomb straight into the room. Bam! And we knew that there were going to be casualties.
Well, I was feeling considerable senses of guilt about leaving my brothers to look after the bees while I was playing around in the Himalayas.
Edmund Cotter very quickly realised that this was going to be a very destructive talk. And so he said, well, I haven't got the money, and I'm not going to get into this battle, and I'm not going.
Well, I changed my mind very quickly. I decided that the bees would have to wait. And I don't think really there was any debate about the fact that I was certainly the fittest member of the group.
Very sadly, turned out to be a clash between myself and Earl Ridderford, but I was on leave without pay as a school teacher and I had no resources to back me up.
Ed Cotter describes the scene in this letter to his mother. Earl showed up worst, I'm afraid. Told George he had no drive. Imagine George taking that. I was a bit disgusted, so said I'd not take part but leave it to them to fight amongst themselves.
I don't think that George ever did forgive Earl. And on the other hand, I don't think Earl ever forgave George either.
Knowing his decision to stay on in the Himalayas will greatly inconvenience his father and brother, Hillary sends the following telegram. Invited Shipton Everest expedition. Could not refuse. Please forgive erring son. Hillary is consumed with guilt, but there is no turning back. Not now that he has Everest in his sight. The New Zealanders Earl Ridderford and Hillary cross into Nepal and scramble up into the Himalayas in a desperate bid to catch up with the English party, led by Eric Shipton. Shipton is impressed by the lanky New Zealanders' determination and strength. He later writes that Hillary is the best high-altitude prospect he's seen in years. On the trail to the hill town of Namche, Hillary sees Everest for the very first time. 20 miles distant, it dominates the head of the valley, like it has dominated his thoughts and dreams. The expedition pushes on eagerly to the Khumbu Glacier at the foot of the Everest Massif.
We realised we would have to climb up this ridge on Pumari, opposite the Western Cwm, in order to see whether or not it was accessible up that side of the mountain. We climbed up to 20,000 feet. We could look right up the icefall into the Western Cwm. It looked to me as though there was not an easy route, but at least a route that was potential. The icefall looked pretty horrifying. We called one area the rickety innards, because if you knocked a chunk of ice off and it fell down a crevasse, the whole area would all shake and shiver.
Shipton opts to return next spring when the snow will be more stable. The mood is relaxed on the trail to Kathmandu.
We were met here by the ambassador, Mr. Summerhays, and he congratulated us on having found this new route.
But news of a possible route to the summit has made the front pages in Zurich as well as in London. The Swiss have applied for and been granted exclusive access to Everest in 1952, and Hillary's dreams come tumbling down. We had regarded, as of course so did the people in Britain, that Everest was sort of a British mountain, as it were. In 1952, while the Swiss attempt Everest, Shipton has to settle for a training run on nearby Mount Choyoyu. At Hillary's instigation, Shipton includes George Lowe in the party. New Zealand's best climbing pair is together again. Alarmed by rumours that the Swiss have got to the top, Hillary and Lowe set off on a 70-mile circumnavigation of Everest that brings them back to the base camp recently abandoned by the Swiss.
Ed put his hand in the fire and it's still warm. So we started belting down the valley at high speed.
At the bottom of the glacier we came to Sherpa, and we tried to question him whether or not the Swiss had been successful.
Just physically we said, have they got to the top? And he put his thumb up and he's put his thumb down and he said, top, no, shoulder, yes.
It was a great moment for us, even though we wished the Swiss no harm at all.
I must say, we were naughty, we said hooray.
And they'd really put in a very good assault on the mountain. The fact remained that the mountain was still unclimbed.
But only just. Raymond Lambert and the Sherpa Tenzing, a name that would soon be linked to Hillary's forever, turned back, frozen and exhausted, only 800 feet below the summit. A second Swiss attempt in the autumn also fails, leaving Tenzing so ill he has to be hospitalized. In 1953, Hillary still has a chance to conquer Everest, but time is running out. He writes to his mother, "I'll be 33 years old tomorrow. I suppose I should be thinking of settling down and becoming steady and staid. As long as I can make enough money to pay my expenses, I think I may as well continue my climbing career. It's probably the only thing I do really well."